Hello and welcome to Agility Health Overview for Teams. Today we will provide you with an introduction to Agility Health so you know what to expect and you are prepared and excited to participate in your first retrospective. This is also a great introduction to anyone interested in why Agility Health was developed and to learn a little bit more about the value your teams can get from this. So let's take a look at the challenge. Let's really get started by talking about what problem are we trying to solve. Agile Transformation began in 2009 as a transformation company, working with organizations at any stage in their journey. So some that brought us in were brand new and wanted to adapt Agile and understand the processes behind it. Some others were trying to improve and scale Agile across the organization. We helped by providing training and coaching. Our customers always asked us the same question: how are the teams doing? Are we making progress? Where do they need support? How do we know where to help our teams as managers? How do we hear their voice? A consistent challenge was the lack of process and tools to gather the data and hear from the teams themselves on how things are going and what they need. What we found is different coaches and different people had different approaches to this. Some used spreadsheets, others used survey tools to gather the information, but it was not consistent. It was difficult to compile the data and to see trends, especially trends across time or trends on multiple teams, so across a program. There was no way to roll things up. So it was very difficult to draw conclusions. Our president, Sally Alada, was inspired to develop Agility Health as a platform to solve this problem. So what is Agility Health? Agility Health is a powerful measurement and continuous growth platform. It's designed for companies that want to accelerate the growth and business agility of their organizations. It is not just for the process of delivering Agile, but it is also for the business side of Agile, the actual discovery processes, and overall, how are we doing from an Agile perspective. At this moment, I invite you to pause this video and to go to agilityhealthradar.com to watch this 3-minute video. Let's dig a little bit deeper into what you saw in the video. The first thing is the process, the 4 quadrants of growth. First, we collect the data. We understand the team health and their maturity from the data that we collect. The second thing is we really analyze the radar. This helps us gain insights into how the team is doing and how much consensus they have. Once we understand that, we help the team gain consensus and we help them with building their growth plan. We do this for both at the team level as well as at the leaders level. As the teams talk about and look at the results of how they are doing, they also are able to tell their leaders, here's the areas that we've identified where we need your help. And so that helps us with helping the leaders build a growth plan for them as well. Then we of course grow and repeat this process and we iterate on it. So let's take a quick Team Health Radar overview. The first thing is you will notice there are the 5 dimensions mentioned on the video: clarity, performance, leadership, culture, and foundation. There is also sub-dimensions that you are going to see under each of these dimensions. And under that, you are going to see the competencies which directly relate to the different questions that are on the radar. Some of these competencies have multiple questions. Most of them have about 1 question. What's important to understand is that these dots are the actual answers from each individual, but they are anonymous. There is no way to know who said what. It's really important to emphasize that. It's important that everyone is responding truthfully to this radar, and to, when you first walk in the room, if you are a facilitator of this, to ensure that everyone understands that their responses are anonymous and that it's a safe environment for them to rate truly how they feel. The second thing is this red line here. This red line is really the average of each area. The other thing here is the shading. So the shading is really going to be the gray. So for example, where we see that there is, in this value delivery, for example, you can see that it goes from an 8 to a 2.5. So there is a lot of shading and variance here. it's important to understand that this radar also includes feedback on the leadership team, on the management of the team, on the product owner, the technical lead, and the team facilitator. We have to remember that feedback is a gift. And so this is really an opportunity for the team to reflect on how to learn and grow in these areas. We really believe that strong leadership leads to stronger clarity. And so in order for us to build strong teams, we need to have strong leaders, and that's why it's important to evaluate how are we doing here. And this is a strategic retrospective. It's not meant to be used for performance in any way. The other correlation that you're going to see here is strong foundation and culture lead to stronger performance. And so oftentimes if we're asked, how do we improve the performance of the team? We say, let's take a look at the culture and look at their foundation, their agility and team structure to be able to help them improve that. Manager. So when we talk about management, this really does relate to your individual manager. So this is the person who may be doing your performance review. It's not the same person for everyone on the team usually, but it helps us provide a picture of how management is doing overall and how they're supporting the team. Here, where you see confidence, the confidence of the product owner relates to just that one product owner on the team and how confident they are in how the team is doing. Here we see that there was 2 individuals that are playing the product owner role, and so they gave different ratings here. The next thing that we see here is team confidence. So how confident is the team that they are able to achieve the results? And stakeholders. If you are a stakeholder, this is the only place where the stakeholder answers show up. The rest of this radar is all only answered by the team. However, stakeholders is what gives us the awareness for this competency to know how they feel the team is doing. So these would include people like the customers of the team. It could include the managers and even the executives if they have an opinion to give on that team to say how they feel the team is doing. This also provides a net promoter score, the NPS, for that team. So it's very important that we emphasize to the stakeholders that they should be able to provide that. The stakeholders are also able to provide commentary and textual responses for the strength of the team, for areas of improvement that they see, and any impediments that they see for this team. Let's now go to the survey questions to be able to show you how you are able to go in and preview the questions of the Team Health 2.0 radar. So first, we are going to go to support.agilityhealthradar.com, and I will attach the link at the bottom of this video. Once you go there, you want to go to where it says Team Health Radar 2.0. I want to show you how to be able to get to all of the radars. So if you go here to Knowledge Base, and you click on radars, here you will see all the different radars. So you'll see the Team Health 2.0, you'll see the enterprise level radars, as well as multi-team growth, individual radars. So for right now, we're going to click on the Team Health Radar 2.0. And here you will be able to see view questions. And this will give you the preview of the questions. So the dimensions are going to be here on the left. So first, this is the welcome, and you can preview this as a team member or a stakeholder or as a product owner. We are going to go ahead and preview it as a team member. And so if you click the start, you are going to see the format of the questions. So it's going to start off by talking about vision overall, for example, and then it is going to ask the statements below using the crawl, walk, run, fly scale. It's important to note that these crawl, walk, run, fly are additive. So if the team does not meet the walk, they cannot be in run. So in order to be in run, you would have to meet the criteria of walk and crawl. There are 55 questions on this survey, and the crawl, walk, run, fly we found has helped us ensure that the answers to these questions are a little bit more objective. And so if you think about Crawl, that's really a team that is just standing up and starting to understand their process. Walk is going to be a team that is starting to adapt some of the agile practices and processes. And then Run is really in that optimization stage. So this is a team that has been doing agile probably for quite some time and is starting to optimize. And then Fly is a team that is optimized. So this is usually a team that is involved with continuous delivery. They are definitely a team that is on that next level, that is starting to teach and show other teams how to go through this process as well. It's really important to note that at the bottom of each one of these sections, there is the place to put your textual responses. So it's really important that we are explaining to the team the importance of, once they put a rating in here, so if I put a rating of a 5 for this item, for example, then I should be able to explain, why am I rating it at a 5, golden outcome? Why do I feel that it's in the middle, or if it's high, or if it's low? So really want to kind of explain the importance of the textual responses and ensure that our team members are putting a lot of these responses in place. If you are a team member, just want you to know and remember that the answers are anonymous, but they really do help ensure that the conversation that we have is going to be rich as we come back to talk about this strategic retrospective. So going back here and taking a look at what do we mean by tactical versus strategic retrospective. As a Scrum team, you do a retrospective at the end of each sprint, as well as, your sprint planning, your sprint demo, during your sprint. Those are what we like to call tactical. This retrospective is in addition to all of these retrospectives that happen. Usually, if you are in a scaled agile framework, for example, then this is something that happens during your innovation and planning sprint. Otherwise, if you are just doing regular sprint, then this is something that would happen in your quarterly release/retrospective. This would replace that. And it's more strategic in nature. What does that really mean? It means that we're looking deeper. We're looking more holistically, and we're looking over a longer time period. So oftentimes the sprint retrospective is much more focused on, how did the sprint go? This strategic retrospective is going to be more focused on, overall, how are we doing? Are we actually delivering the value? How is our management and leadership team doing? How are we doing on clarity? How is our structure, team structure? So it's going to be digging a little bit deeper, and we really want to give it the time. So it's 2.5 to 3 hours in length, because we want the team to take the time to think about the root cause and how to impact change for your team and really for the organization overall, and how do we grow to that next level. So not just thinking about things at the team level, but as we said previously, also at the organizational level. Where do we need help from our managers and leaders? And so this is your Agility Health quarterly strategic retrospective. So what is the idea here, and what's the process behind it, really? So first, you will take the survey as a team member. You will come to the room. Highly suggest that you use your laptop, but you can use your phone as well. And when you come in, you're going to have a conversation about the team and how to grow and improve and create an actionable plan. So part 1 is taking the survey. Part 2 is really talking about the results and analyzing the data in real time and talking about the textual responses. The third part is building that growth plan and having, for the team and for the leaders, it's really important that this is done by a facilitated Agility Health facilitator, and that way they are able to ensure that the real conversations are happening and that the growth plan is actionable for the team. Some of the examples of things that get escalated up to that next level to the leaders are things like the tools that you might need that require you to go out and purchase them. A lot of things like barriers to cross-team collaborations, or any training or coaching needs are the sort of things that we usually see that come up for the leaders to help us resolve. So what are the 3 metrics that matter? First, it's going to be the qualitative and leading metrics. So these are things like the Agility Health retrospective provide us with. So how is the team feeling? The next item is the hard metrics, the delivery health. And of course, business outcomes and results. So the qualitative is going to come from the voice of the team through the radars. And then the hard metrics, these really come from the tools that you use to track your work. So this could be something like Jira or Rally or version 1. And then the business outcomes come from the product leaders, executives, and sponsors on, are we aligning to what they are asking of us? So Agility Health really aims to enable a growth mindset. What does that mean? What's a fixed mindset? Let's start there, right? We are who we are. That's what a fixed mindset sounds like. We can only do more of what we know, and we just need to work harder at it, right? A growth mindset says every situation is an opportunity to learn. So growth, changing, and learning are possible and important to us. We want to learn and adapt. So how do we build actionable growth plans, and how we really talk about how to grow the talents and the skills within the teams? How to inspect, test ideas, and pivot when needed, and not get stuck to one solution or one way of doing things. So let's talk about the Agility Health maturity roadmap, really. So we start with crawl, which is standing up the teams. That really, the symptoms on the radar would look like most dimensions are below the 25%. It's the beginning of the journey. We're standing up teams. We're just basically starting to understand the basics. The walk is starting to stabilize. So most of the dimensions are going to be between that 30 to 50%. And this really is where we're starting to grow the leadership roles. We're starting to improve planning. We're starting to stabilize the practices within Agile. And run, this is where we're starting to optimize. So several dimensions are going to be between the 60 to 80%. And here the teams are becoming self-organized. They're actually applying discovery and talking about business value. They're managing dependencies much better, and they're focused on business outcomes and starting to measure those as well. Fly is where we're going to be able to enable the teams. The majority of the dimensions, or several of them, I shouldn't say the majority, several of the dimensions are going to be at the 90% plus. Here, where teams are really starting to use the best practices. They're applying experiments and quick learning cycles. They are an enablement teams. They're strong DevOps practices. They're focused on business outcomes and really starting to be able to achieve them. The next slide here is really going to be able to show you, based on these goals, how to build a growth plan. Many of these items are things that you can use the growth portal to be able to pull those things directly into your team growth plan. And I will show you more about the growth portal in a different video that you can take a look at, so you understand more about how to use the growth portal and utilize it to be able to help the teams grow. So let's start by talking about what's in it for me. Who are the Agility Health personas? And the first one that we see here is org leaders. What do org leaders come to Agility Health for? It's really to analyze the program, portfolio, and line of business data. They're there to help us by removing the enterprise obstacles. So these are items that are above the organizational level items. The Agile Coach. The Agile Coach is there to help us by taking a look at multi-team roll-up analysis and coaching those targeted teams that need our assistance, and then measuring the coaching impact. A huge part of what Agility helps coaches with is being able to say, have I really helped this team improve? If we focused on clarity, did we actually see an improvement in that, or do we need to change the approach? Managers come to Agility Health to help complete the stakeholder survey and to give feedback to the teams to let them know how they feel they're doing. They are also the owners of removing the organizational growth items and measuring the growth for the teams and the program overall. The Scrum Masters, they are the ones who are the heart of this. They schedule and they attend the retrospective. They manage the team growth plan. They ensure that the team is looking at their growth plan often during the retrospective, and that those items are being tracked and worked on. They also help get the team excited about taking the Agility Health retrospective and understanding the value it has for the team. The team members complete the assessment. They help analyze the result. They build and own that growth plan, and they're really the ones who go out and execute the team growth plan. We want to ensure that growth is the focus of the organization at large. And so therefore, we're really focused on growing at the team level, at the multi-team level, and at the enterprise level. The question that we often hear is, how do I see, if I'm a team member, am I able to see the management and the multi-team growth items and the enterprise items? So really this depends on your role within Agility Health. Team admins and team members will only see the growth items for their teams, and leaders of those teams will only see the growth items at the multi-team level. And the enterprise leaders, of course, senior leaders, will be able to see the items that relate to them at the enterprise growth levels. Leaders use the list of issues escalated from the teams, and we tag them as organizational issues to create a backlog. So really we want the leaders to start practicing the same thing that the teams are practicing, of having a backlog of items that they're working on and demoing to the teams and saying, here is what we are working on. And here's how we're helping you. So for example, multiple teams could have an issue with environment instability. And so if we see that, then what is that multi-team organizational growth team doing to solve that, and how do we demo back to the teams and let them know that we're working on that for them? Team growth items really flow up to org growth items when they're escalated, and then the org growth items that the multi-team, which usually consists of management and coaches, cannot flow up, flow up to the enterprise growth items, and that becomes something that the senior leaders will own. The other way is true. Business outcomes flow down. So we have business outcomes at the senior leaders level that become program level or multi-team level items, and then those items get broken down into stories and become part of the team goals and things that the team is going to work on. Let's take a look at what this actually looks like within the tool. So you will go to the growth items dashboard, and here you'll be able to filter down by the items that you want to view: organizational, team, or enterprise. Let's take a look at a few sample growth items. So a product owner wants to improve communication of our roadmap. As a team, we would like our product owner to improve the communication of our upcoming roadmap so that we can plan ahead and understand the vision of where we're going. And then we will include some very specific acceptance criteria. We're going to build a roadmap for quarter 1 and 2. We're going to share that roadmap with the team, get input and feedback, and we're going to keep the roadmap in a visible area. We really encourage the teams, and we encourage you as a Scrum Master and facilitator to ensure that the acceptance items are actionable and things that we can follow up on and ensure that everyone on the team understands them. Here's another example of something that we might want to ensure that we do, which is to create a Scrum Master job description with a list of responsibility as it relates to our organization and team, so that we know what to expect from our Scrum Master. Here's the Kanban view within the tool. When I show you guys the demo, you'll be able to see that you can go into the tool, create backlog items of growth items, and then move them to in progress and to done. And this will help ensure that everyone on the team understands where things are at. But also, if you are working on an organizational growth item and you move that item, that will send a notification to the team to let them know that the org team has actually pulled that item in, which is really nice. Over time, you may want to dig deep into DevOps and see how the team is doing in this area, in addition to the general team health. So this is another radar that's really focused on DevOps, the culture of improvement, on higher quality, faster value delivery, and building the right product. The dimensions and sub-dimensions here are going to be very similar to how the team health is. The competencies are going to relate to the actual questions that the team members will see, and it's going to work pretty much the same in having that crawl, walk, run, fly. And we also do have a DevOps radar that is customized for the scaled agile framework. If you are using that, then that would be the radar that you would want to take a look at. We also have a safe release train health radar. The SAF Radar is focused on PI planning event, PI execution, delivery, the results, and planning readiness. So under planning readiness, you'll see preparation and art organization. And under results, you're going to see what is the visibility. And under performance, we're going to see things like time to market. And then under delivery, it's really about that continuous delivery. And PI execution is going to talk about the program role. So how are we doing from an RTE, product management, and systems architecture and engineering perspective, as well as how are we doing on the program events. There's also going to be the PI planning event, which is going to talk about how are we doing from the inputs and outputs and how is our planning process. Created in partnership with Scaled Agile, and it is created for the release train leaders to assess how they are doing as a team for the release train, and also it helps them on how can they grow and improve. We oftentimes also want to ensure that we are getting feedback from the team members on this process for the overall program, so that they have that would be their customers that are giving them responses on how they feel they are doing. This can be done in addition to the team health retrospective that the teams within the train are doing to provide information on the overall release train health. Typically, we conduct this as part of the innovation and planning sprint, and at the end of the PI to provide input into the program level improvements and action plan for the upcoming PI. Oftentimes, we bring in the information into the inspect and adapt, and we use it on building our growth plan. For those interested, Agility Health does provide team performance metrics. This is pulling in just enough hard metrics to be able to see a full picture within Agility Health of how your team is doing. It's important to note this should not be used to replace the tools that you have for tracking your work, but rather it's to pull in just those enough metrics to see how to get a full picture. So this really should be used alongside whatever tools you have in-house, and there's a lot of integration. So if you have Rally or version 1 or Jira, we can actually integrate that data in so that it's automatically getting pulled in to show a full picture of how the teams are doing. No, this right here, the customer satisfaction, the NPS, comes directly from the stakeholders. As we talked about earlier, that is that confidence that they are showing us when they give those results. Agility Health also will enable you to be able to pull in release health metrics. Those can also be integrated and pulled in automatically. The reason why this is important is because oftentimes we see things like the target points were 80 and actual points delivered were 68. And it seems like this team is not doing that great. But when you look at the target value, 19, but the actual value was 45, which says things shifted in a positive direction to provide additional value and be more focused on the customer. That's great. And so those are the kind of information that is important to be able to see. The defects can also be pulled in as well to show overall for this quarter, how did we do on our entire release. Another really powerful view is being able to look at program improvements quarterly. So for this program, we can see for leadership, there was a decrease. We can see for culture, there was an improvement of 16%. For foundation, we improved. And for clarity, there was an improvement. And for performance was an improvement. So it's really important to be able to see how are we doing, not just across the program overall, but over time, are we improving from our first retrospective, our baseline that we did, to the next time, the next quarter that we took this assessment. Another thing that you can do here that's really powerful is dig even deeper. So earlier we were looking at just overall, how are we doing on the 5 dimensions, but we can actually take a look at just the performance area and be able to say, how are we doing in performance on value delivery, on time to target, response to change, and really dig a little bit deeper into the performance metrics. And we can do this for any of the dimensions. We can also do this with qualitative and hard metrics and business outcomes. Those can also be trended over time to show the value delivery. So things like number of users or customer engagement, the number of sales that we have, how much in sales did we provide, those sort of things can also be tracked over time to be able to show how are we doing.
Thank you so much for listening to this overview for teams of Agility Health. If you would like a demo of Agility Health, please listen to the next video. And you can find all of this and so much more on support.agilityhealthradar.com. Under resources, you will be able to find a set of videos that will help you with how to use Agility Health. Thank you for joining today.